Hello and welcome to Blythe Business News. Today we're joined by Steve Curtis, Chief Executive of Caledonia Mining Corporation. Caledonia operates the Blanket Mine in Zimbabwe where it mines gold. Caledonia is one of those rare beasts on the AIM market in that it pays dividends. Not only does it pay dividends, it's paid a dividend every quarter for many years. Steve, you've recently announced a dividend of 7.5 cents per share, but that dividend had a few weeks ago been deferred. What's prompted you to change your mind and now pay the dividend?
Caledonia has paid a quarterly dividend since 2014, and the anniversary of the next dividend was the end of March, when we was due to pay. So the decision about the declaration of the dividend had to happen earlier than that, and it coincided with the announcement of the lockdown happening in South Africa. Now, South Africa is a very important supply chain into Zimbabwe for our mining operation there. So a lockdown of the South African mining industry and the allied services was going to have a detrimental effect on the ability of Blanket to source consumables and raw materials. Blanket did, though, have a stock capacity to carry on trading and producing for probably 3 to 5 weeks, depending how close we wanted to cut things to the line. So we had a number of uncertainties, and we felt it was prudent at the point in time when we should be thinking about the second dividend for 2019 to actually defer that decision. The balance sheet at that point in time was robust. We had probably nearly 12 million or just over $12 million in cash available to us. We had inventories, but we didn't know what the effect of the COVID virus was going to be in South Africa or in Zimbabwe. So the prudent thing for us to do as a board was to defer the decision. And we have been operating under a temporary permit that the Zimbabwe government granted to us since the lockdown was put in place in Zimbabwe. And we have managed to continue producing at over 90% of our call rate. And that is with practicing social distancing and limiting the number of people that could go underground. And using up the stocks and stores that we had available to us. With the lifting of the mining embargo in South Africa and a phasing out of the stage 5 lockdown, which South Africa speaks about, going into stage 4, various supply chains are opening up. We've got explosives arriving again. We've had trucks of spare parts and consumables arriving. And that allowed us to feel a lot more confident that we could use the strong balance sheet we have and declare the dividend again, because it's quarterly, and it's about $850,000 a quarter. And we're sitting at the moment with about $14.2 million on the balance sheet. So we wanted to keep on with our trajectory of declaring a quarterly dividend and looking at the way forward. Blanket is going to ramp up to 100% with the permission of the government. And we felt confident that it was okay for us to consider a declaration of the dividend. And the meeting last night with the board arrived at that decision. So we're very, very happy to make that announcement this morning.
So in summary, your supply chain from South Africa has been reinstated. You're getting the raw materials and spare parts that you need. You've got a very strong balance sheet. So you're saying that's why you were confident to declare the dividend today?
Absolutely, Tim. And I think I should emphasize as well that 3 weeks ago, when COVID-19 really reared its head and we started the lockdown process, we instituted a number of measures at the mine. The mine is about 15 kilometers outside the closest town of Gwanda, so it's relatively isolated. The majority of our workers live on the property in a village with their families. So we are lucky that people don't travel in and out. And we took that opportunity to see what measures of effective self-isolation we could put in place and try and limit our exposure to the virus. That has proven to be successful. And that again gave us another level of confidence that if we stick to the disciplines and our employees continue to stick to the art of social distancing and looking after themselves, that we could do the best for everyone and go back to work, because we've got 1,600 odd people on the mine, and it's a lot easier to keep them disciplined and focused if they've got a job of work to go back to, and it gives them a level of comfort and confidence that that there is some normality in life. And we've continued to pay them, obviously, but you can imagine the drain on people's morale of just worrying what's going to happen. So being back at work is actually very good for them from a mental perspective.
Well, you've been operating the blanket mine then through the pandemic. I understand you've had quite a bit of support from the Zimbabwean government. Could you please outline what the government's done to help Caledonia?
Obviously, the importance of the mining sector to the economy of Zimbabwe is common knowledge, and the gold mining industry is very, very important to the country. So we've had all the support we've needed, and we've worked very much hand in glove with the government and the health authorities in our region, whereby we participate on the COVID task teams, so we know what's going on in the community outside of us. And we've assisted financially with providing resources to various government institutions, and very supportive. The government wants us to be able to continue under the restrictions and the best practices outlined often by the World Health Organization. And we've really just worked with a very open communication line through the Chamber of Mines. And we've supported each other, and so far so good. We're able to ramp back up, and we look forward to continuing to produce as well as we can. And the absolute non-negotiable is employee safety comes first, and mining safety is critical. But now with the COVID pandemic, that additional responsibility of health and other safety measures just permeates right through the organization. But it's just become the bread and butter of the organization now, and that's really encouraging to see.
And Steve, without divulging too much financial information, if you don't want to, can you please give us a sense of the scale of the contribution which Caledonia has been making to the local community in Zimbabwe?
Yes, I can, Tim, and I can give some financial details because they've been publicized in various filings that we've made. The Chamber of Mines requested a contribution from the whole mining sector to be able to put some tangible, mainly sort of protective PPE equipment into the hands of the authorities. And we made an initial donation of 16 million Zimbabwe dollars, which the chamber then utilized to buy ventilators and some PPE, and that was handed over to the president last week. We've also committed that while this pandemic continues and we're able to produce and everything runs normally, meaning that we can get our gold to market, we get paid for our gold, that we will continue to make donations of about 5 million Zimbabwe dollars per week. And those will mainly be channeled into the more immediate area around the blanket mine, in the Gwanda area, and a little bit further in the Bulawayo area, into the sort of the medical support systems that need infrastructure. So that's what we're doing. Just locally on site in terms of our own PPE and hand sanitization and infrared scanners and thermometers for screening, we probably spent another 10 million Zimbabwe dollars. And you can see it's an expensive exercise. People will say, well, a Zimbabwe dollar is not worth a lot of money. It is still money. We still have to earn it, but we're very happy to plow it back into the community and into the infrastructures that are required to help the whole nation get through this terrible event.
So, Steve, you've managed to carry on mining throughout the COVID pandemic. You've today declared the 7.5 cents dividend. Let's just look to the future a little bit. As viewers may know, Caledonia is just about to complete the new central shaft, which will increase efficiency at the Blanket mine. You've paid for that out of cash flow. You've paid for it yourselves. So can you explain, as a consequence of all of that capex now starting to tail away, the central shaft coming into operation, the gold price being what the gold price is, very high at the moment, what does that mean for the next few months, the next year or so of Caledonia's operations?
Yes, Tim, our initial indications were that the equipping of the central shaft would be completed towards the back end of Q3 of this year. We have also announced that there may be a slight effect of this COVID lockdown on that timing, because we can't move people in and out of the country and onto the mine, and there's certain specialist skills that we do require. But at this stage, equipping is continuing. We've got a crew on site. It is understaffed, to be perfectly honest, but they are still working to the program. Safety always being the primary objective when you're 1.2 kilometers down and you're building a steel infrastructure. When that is completed, and let's hope this event does not push us further out than 2020, then we'll start ramping up production, and the capex will decline quite dramatically in 2021. And yes, then Blanket mine with a higher gold production, and let's say the gold price stays where it is, will be in a very enviable position to be generating a good amount of cash. And we've had very patient shareholders for the last 5 years who've waited while we spent a lot of money on this expansion shaft. But they've understood the economics and the strategic value of spending the money now and being able to ramp up production to a much higher level. Our target is 80,000 ounces from our current level of about 55,000 ounces. And with a virtually sustaining capex level of capex from sort of years 2022, 2023 going forward, Blanket's going to make a lot of money at 80,000 ounces, and you pick the gold price. And shareholders will be rewarded accordingly. We've seen a dividend increase in the first quarter. We've just held it static on this announcement, but I think we've signaled our intention.
That was Steve Curtis, Chief Executive of Caledonia Mining, operators of the Blanket mine in Zimbabwe, telling us about Caledonia's dividend declared today and their track record of paying quarterly dividends for many years. Caledonia trades on the AIM market with the ticker of CMCL. It's got a market capitalization of around £111 million. Thank you for watching Blythe Business News.